Welcome to Friday night's video in our second master series. This is, I do believe, the 49th video in our second master series and the second video on tuning meters and tuning software. In this video, we talked about tuners, and we really talked about being able to adjust things with your DAW and really just working on targets. Normally, for a long time, I just worked with my tuning meter and fixed problems when doing my flow editing just fine. Things came out sounding just fine. If I had serious problems, I would re-record stuff. So, but we go back to my first master series, is that although every moment in time is important, that your capture, getting a good capture of a good performance in good time and tuned well is of utmost importance to make your life easier so that you do less processing, less editing, and things like that. But that's not always possible and things happen. In this video, we are going to talk about this software called Melodyne. Now, we're not going to get into too much of, really in-depth things about what it does and things like that, because those are things that whatever piece of software you get, you're going to have to work out and read about it and learn about what's happening. Now, I started out with Melodyne Essentials and then step by step worked up till I had Melodyne Studio. And I love this piece of software and I highly recommend it. I do stuff that not just if you are an audio engineer and you really are into composition and sound sculpting and you really want to take your stuff that next level, I recommend this. I highly recommend this piece of software, but it's a little spendy. But Melodyne Essentials or something like that can help you do the tuning things we talked about a lot easier. I mean, it's a lot easier to take a note here and tune it up, or tune it down or whatever you need to do with it pretty simply, even with Melodyne Essentials, and does a really good job of it and just render the track, save a copy of what you did beforehand, and it can really help you a lot. Now, what I wanted to get into this kind of a piece of software, not just doing it by hand like we talked about in the last video and just going in there and cutting things up when you're flow editing and fixing things, that I wanted to talk about the precautions of this piece of software. We're going to make one more video and talk about more detailed work that as a next level master audio engineer that you're going to want to get into, but it's going to take some time and some practice and some experimentation on your part. But just like preliminary entry level, like Melodyne Essentials or something like that can help you immensely. The biggest thing that I try to say about a piece of software like this is be careful. You can cause a mess out of things really quickly. I found that sometimes that you really got to watch out for causing artifacts or not doing things properly, because I had issues to where, it seemed like a good idea, and it took a while before that I got to the point that I really trusted the software, and also that I had a problem of making a mess of things, because this piece of software can help you make a mess of things really quick. And we're just talking about basic tuning things like Melodyne Essentials that just lets you, like, I've got this note here, and it's -1 cent, but I'm going to change it to 0. Something like that. That's a very simple thing. And I've tuned that probably much easier than I would have using the tools in my DAW when I'm doing my flow editing. So this piece of software is great for doing your flow editing. A full version of this, like Melodyne Studio, can help your flow editing immensely. It's not just a tuning software. I mean, this thing can do all kinds of things to help you in your flow editing that are going to help you immensely. As you become that next level master audio engineer, better and better versions of this are going to help you in that phase of your production immensely. And also that when you're doing other stuff and cool stuff and sound sculpting and experimental stuff as an engineer to make something sound unique and different, this piece of software can help you also with that. But we're just basically focusing on it as like a tuner. So its uses as just a tuner are immensely helpful. Just I try to tell you about precautions about it. Really read about the piece of software well so that you understand what it's doing and practice with it. Get out a microphone, and then I went to go and I went and sing out a tune and fuss with it. Spend some time experimenting with it and getting real used to it. And the next thing besides that is this piece of software is going to be immensely helpful to you, just like having the tuner out when you go through flow editing and things like that, is to get it out. Get it out on another screen, blow it up so that you can really see things that are happening as far as the tuning, to really get familiar with what this looks like on whatever piece of software like this that you're using. Eventually, if you're going to become that next level master audio engineer, you're going to want to get a piece of software like this to help you accomplish that. There's no doubt about it. And if you're a professional engineer working for money, that you're going to want to have this to help speed up your workflow and to do a better job for whoever you're working for. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't do a really good job just with the tools in your DAW. You can, because I have, but I can do a better job and a faster job in my workflow with a piece of software like this. I just really caution you about mangling pieces of audio. Just tuning it isn't that big a deal with like essential versions of the software and things like that. You're really just worried about tuning. You've got some tuning aspects that are going to be the most important things that this piece of software is designed to help you with. Now, it does a lot of other things, but we're not getting into that right now. This is also a engineer's tool. So, besides just the tuning stuff it does, it can help you do a lot of things that it's worth investing in. Does that make sense? There's a few pieces of software that I recommend, and this is one of them for you becoming that next level master audio engineer. But just the tuning aspects of this piece of software are going to be helpful to you. Now, it might not be possible unless you have a bunch of monitors to have Melodyne open all the time on each individual track and on your out and things like that. It's why I normally recommend having your tuner out to catch issues that are going on and flagging things. But when you go through flow editing and you're listening going through here, that you can really flag issues that are happening. You can really see what's going on with things, stop things, check things out, and get a much better understanding of where it's at, where it's tuned, what is happening with what's going on there to help you make much better decisions. And also, depending on the version, it breaks up the notes of what's going on to where you can actually get in there, cut the piece of audio so you have a separate clip to work with and things like that, in case you've got some area that, well, it's in tune through half this note, and then at the end of it, it's, and you can go and actually just cut the piece of audio and get two separate clips to work on separately, which is really helpful, because I found a lot of times I go in there and I've got this little section right here, and I got to go cut this between here and there, drag it to another track, adjust it in the tuning in my DAW, bounce it, and then drag it back in there, and hopefully through that whole process that I didn't screw something up, make a mess of something. As you become a better engineer, that happens less and less and less of you causing messes. But I did go through, I mean, there were some times that I didn't check things, and I didn't check things were okay, and then it got buried in the mix. And it was like when you make edits and fix things and then it gets buried in the mix, it makes it much more difficult to fix things. But this piece of software can help you immensely. So I'm not going to get into this too much. The software, you're going to have to investigate. And if you decide you don't like Melodyne, you like some other piece of software, well, that's okay. I recommended this because I've watched these guys. I've watched how they present themselves, the kind of stuff they're doing, that they're really trying to make it besides just tuning, they are trying to make it a very advanced piece of editing software for audio engineers that goes beyond just music production, that does other things that can be very helpful in sound sculpting, movie productions, working with Foley, sample sets, creating samples, all kinds of things that as an engineer, depending on how deep you go and what all you immerse yourself in. I mean, I'm a diehard engineer. I like all of it, and I dabble in all of it. So this piece of software, the listening to them, that they really are pointing in a direction that this piece of software is going to be able to do a whole lot of other things in the future if they keep developing it. So I recommend it highly. But, it's really a good thing to have, and it can really help you adjust your tunings. And as you get used to having it open and inspecting things, that you're really going to go to the next level as an engineer, because it's showing you things in a different environment, that's showing their pitches and tunings and things like that, that is very obvious, that you're really getting to see these things laid out and being able to start to see footprints of things that are happening and where things go, so that you start to recognize, things that are happening that should be happening, and being able to very quickly catch when something's a problem. I'm seeing something going on here, that what is that? That's not normal. What's going on there? Something's happening. And let me zoom in on that and find out what's happening, because I'm getting a lot more different definition in the analysis of the tuning issues that may be present in whatever piece of audio that I'm working on. So I don't want to keep this video kind of short, and basically present that as a part of you becoming that next level master audio engineer, and you getting something like Melodyne Essentials and really start getting it out, utilizing it, start visualizing the audio that way to help you see these footprints and to see more definition, and to help fine tune your targeting abilities when you're trying to flag every moment in time, because every moment in time is important to take your stuff to that next level and make you that next level master audio engineer, that this kind of a piece of software is going to be invaluable to you. So that's basically my pitch on that, and to try to help you get to that next level, and to get you practicing with it, experimenting with it, and to get used to using it, visualizing what's happening, and help you make it part of your workflow to help get you to that next master level as an audio engineer. In the next video, we're going to talk about some more fine detail work we're able to do, and why I think you need to focus, you need to invest in that area, and you really need to experiment and understand those areas to help take your stuff to the next level. So peace, hope, love. I certainly hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.